Hellfire and the Fall of Empire. Year 13, 2956. The big news is we've been doing a couple of things wrong, but it kind of hurt us. We weren't tipping the scales in our favor. We were tipping them out of our favor, and let's just talk about what it was that we were doing wrong. This, of course, is the Decapolis, 10 cities on an isolated planet that has been abandoned by the Kaisan Empire. It's an off-world, core world empire that is done spending money on these Hicks and Rubes way out here in the hinterland. Remember, if you are a colonial power, that is a very expensive thing. In order to keep the space lanes safe for shipping, you spend an enormous amount of money. You spend a lot of money protecting this little country, or maybe a collection of countries, from the empire right next door. And after a while, these countries tend to get a little lazy. They tend to decide, well, I don't need to protect myself because I've got those big the Kaisans protecting us, so I can just invest in all kinds of fun stuff like fun trains and free healthcare and all kinds of stuff like that. And when the Kaisans leave, you decide you hate them because you are entitled to their protection. This, of course, is a science fiction setting that is based on history and cannot possibly teach us anything about modern current events at all in any way, shape, or form. One thing that we can deduce from this and from the history is that when the empire leaves, it takes a lot of its citizens with it. A lot of those first and second generation colonists look around and say, hey, this is a lot harder making a go of things here than I realized, and they go back to the mother country. The people that have been here for 3, 4, 5 generations, the people who are now tied to the soil, they will gut it out. They will fight to the bitter end. And they kind of look down their noses at those who maybe come over the border, try to take advantage of the good economic situation. Then as soon as things get bad, they run back home. That's just not a good way to build a cohesive society. And that's reflected in the game by this mechanic where every year there is a 1 in 6 chance. And there's a couple of triggers, actually. You're safe for the first few years, but when the Navy leaves, there's a good chance that your capital starts shrinking and that your economic centers start shrinking. When your economic centers get too small, they can't invest in industry, so those start shrinking. But there is a limit. When the first of each of these cities, the art cities, when one of those reaches a population of 7, the fashions change. We no longer look to the space Hollywood for our fashions. We look to, independent creators, our little local regional creators. But that happens when the population gets to 7, and you see Damascus has a population of 6. Now, it was down to 5 because I forgot about this rule. I took Damascus way too low, which cost me a pretty good chunk of change and might have tipped the fortunes of the Civil War a little faster. So what I've done to kind of compensate for that, and I think is that true in any of these other ones? Yeah. So like Pella, Scythopolis, I've got a whole bunch of cities that are down to 7. I hurt myself bad by doing that, but that's okay because we like playing games on a high level. We set it for hurt me plenty, daddy. Beat me, kick me, and tell me lies, because when we win a game with that setup, we feel that much better and we know we are gaming at an elite level. So that's something to be aware of. If you ever do start playing this, remember that there are limits to how far these things can reduce. And essentially what I've done here, so this is my notes to myself. Hippos still has a 2 in 6 chance until the population hits 6. So we get a check for that every year. Hey, let's do that now. Or a 1 or a 2, we get a 5. No, we get a whole bunch of loyalists, probably because they had to fight. That Civil War cemented the bonds of fraternal brotherhood. We had a year of reconciliation. We built a whole bunch of monuments, both to the loyalists and to the rebels. When you have statues to the rebels, you tell the people that you share a nation with that they are respected, and we still respect their fathers and their bravery and their loyalty to perhaps the city or to the leader, whatever. We want to get along, and in order to build a high trust, cohesive society, we even respect people who rebelled in ways that we don't necessarily approve of. I wonder if there's a lesson in that. Maybe. But for today, I will point out that I'm going to stop rolling for everything except for Hippos. And for the art towns, I'm going to go ahead and increase those 1 per year. And like I said, I've increased that to 6 for this year. So this 77, if we add all these up, that actually becomes 78, which gives us 146 income on the year. And then, oh my gosh, I also did an edit. I audited my military. Doge showed up. The hippos, the hippopolitan, the the decapolitan business industrialist billionaire weirdo showed up, and he audited us and said, hey, you've been spending the wrong amount of money. Uh-oh. So what does that mean? Well, we have 146K of income minus 128. Oh. So remember last year we lost 4,000 kilocredits. We had those raids show up. We weren't able to stop them fully. We limited the damage, but they still cost us 4 kilocredits on the year, which means we are up to, and we'll adjust this on the fly, our military actually costs us 128 kilocredits. So that gives us a 14,000 kilocredit surplus and then with our total income, our previous, I should say, bankroll was 118 that we saved from last year. You add those two numbers and you get 132.3 kilocredits. That's our war chest. We have to do some replacements. We had 3 companies of leg infantry that got blasted out of the grasslands in defending the motherland. And so that means we are down to, I got to add 2 here, right? So that becomes 90,000. So when we made 146, we spent 128. We had 14 to our surplus. And then we spend 450. And then that means, oh, wait a minute. I had 128. It's actually 185 for the military. That's when Doge shows up. And that means our deficit on the year is 41 kilocredits. Uh-oh. So instead, we're going to disband 2 battalions this year. That's going to reduce the cost of our military to 148 kilocredits, leaving us with a minus 4 kilocredits. And then if we cycle that through, this becomes 83. Just you trust me on that, right? So remember, we were bragging about how we had well over 100,000 kilocredits every year. This year, we replaced the companies, disbanded a couple of battalions, and we're down to 83,000 kilocredits. That ain't great, buddy. You know, we can only last another 20 years at that rate. We need to pump these population numbers up so we can make a little more money, or we need to be a little less cavalier with our defense budget. That means we overspent. Now, I actually paid for the guys last year that I hadn't paid. That's part of why my reserves are so low. It's also going to end the campaign a little bit quicker. So just bear in mind the numbers. You run through them and then you check them and then you make all these little changes and you just check little line items. At some point you step back and you go, let me just recalculate all these. Oh, there's a new number. Oh, that's a problem. So we got some problems to deal with. In fact, one of the problems we have to deal with here is that there is a possibility raiders show up, and this year is the 3rd year, so there is a 3% chance. I got a 27, so no raiders, no return to the Kaizen Empire, none of that stuff. So the last thing we have to check is, does our boy survive? There's a 1 in 10 chance that a new challenger arrives, and look at that. He does not, and it looks like we have a usurper. So it looks like not only are we short on cash, but we have a second civil war to fight. Not only that, but our neighbors have still not learned their lesson. D6 of them are coming at us. And we get 5. Oh, this is going to be a rough year. 2956 ain't looking good. Once there has been a disputed succession, such as the Kanathan Rebellion, roll a d10, and on a 1, the current governor has died. Wargaming III died, we rolled for that. And a replacement enters the play. So that's the normal succession. Roll a d6, and on a 1 or a 2, oh, okay, there's a disputed succession. It's up to you whether the new usurper claims for descent from a previous. So we roll, and on a 6, it's not disputed, but we are suffering from the death of Wargaming III. I guess he was older than we thought. So that means Wargaming IV takes to the throne, the boy child king, and he must have some sort of regent. I hope that regent knows what he's doing, because he's going to have to deal with 5 raiding parties. As usual, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The Maka Popular Front, Wheelian Supremacy, the Puka, the Tillian Republic, and Grey Horde. We've got 5 armies coming at us. We got triple 5s, so the Tillian Republic is coming hard. we've got the Wheelian Supremacy and the Makin. Now remember, the Makin attacked Pella last year, and we recruited them to help defend Philadelphia. So that's a lot of trouble that we're facing this year. Starting with the Makin, we roll a d6, and on a 3, they can be bought off. The Tillian Republic, we roll a d6, and on a 5, they will serve as allies, and then I have to roll 3 dice. So that's going to cost us some money on both of those accounts. I'm going to roll 3 dice for the last ones. This is 3 groups of Tillians are coming at us, 4, 4, and 5. And that means we're dealing with take several cities, and serve as paid allies. So what we'll do for this, now the other thing we have to check is, this little handwritten note here means on a D10, this is how I interpret this. The Tillian Republic is their bossmen, their whatever their leadership council is. They're arguing about what the right policy is. And right now it's 2-1 whether they should attack taking several cities. I have a 1 in 10 chance. And then the 1 is, of course, well, why don't we hire ourselves out? There's a 1 in 10 chance that the leader meets a grisly end or maybe dies happy in his bed. And on a 0, that doesn't happen. So I've got that. Apparently there's a whole lot going on there. Now I think, and this is where things get a little bit odd, I think what we'll do is we'll suggest that the guys who can serve as paid allies, if I can afford to buy them off, they may negate some of these attackers, but I'm still going to have to deal with at least one taking many cities. And to really understand what's happening there, I'm going to need to figure out what the forces are for both of those Tillians. And likewise, the Makins will not show up on a 1 on a d6. They show up. D8 infantry units will show up. 8 plus 2 mounted units plus 2 artillery units. Wow, that couldn't have gone any worse, could it? So we've got 8 infantry plus 2 cavalry plus 2 artillery for a total of 12 units. That's going to cost us, if memory serves, when you want to buy people off, pay them to go away, you do that on a unit by unit basis. Roll a d8 times 100. Here's the roll way up there. D8 times 100. This is what it's going to cost us to go away per company. So, it's only 100. Hey, that is the saving grace. So for 1,200 credits, we don't have to deal with them at all. And I think that is a bargain. We're absolutely going to take that deal. The Wheelians might take pay. It says pay to serve allies. It's 600 per month. Oh, this is what I was thinking of. It's 600 per month for the Wheelians. And this is just a normal size force. They are going to have a D6 plus 2 infantry units. So 6 infantry and 2 artillery and 2 tank companies. That's going to come in handy. And that's going to set us back 6,000 credits. But hey, 10 companies for the year for 6,000 credits, that ain't so bad. Take several cities. Now, this is a major push. So they're going to be making 2 major pushes. Let's find out who and that's where I don't think we've seen this yet. I think this might be the first time we've seen the major push where somebody's trying to take a whole lot of cities. But it's not the Popular Front doing that. It's the Tillian Republic. And these are the guys, remember, they took, a few years back, they took Damascus from us. So instead of the usual normal force of D6 plus 2 infantry, the major push is D8 plus 4 infantry. So there's going to be 5 infantry in this first one, 2 artillery, and 2 tank units. So 5 infantry plus 2 arty plus 2 tanks. And in the second major push is going to be much more significant. It's going to be 9 infantry plus 3 artillery. Is that right? Plus 1 for every 3? Yeah, plus 3 tank units. That's going to be hard to take care of. Now, the Tillians who are offering to serve as paid mercenaries are going to be, they're going to be the same. 9 infantry plus 3 artillery plus 3 tank units. And because they can be offered as paid, so they're going to attack us. They're going to join in the major attack. But I'm going to offer at least the one of them the opportunity to serve as paid allies. Of course, with 15 times the 600 credits, you are looking at, what is that? That's going to set us back a cool 9,000 credits. And I think we spend that 9,000 credits. So this is really what the Tillians are bringing. And we're going to direct them at these guys doing the major push. And maybe they eyeball each other and they don't actually fight. Maybe they do. Maybe they're losses, whatever. I don't care. We can do this fight. It's a 50-50 fight. And why don't we just check right? Well, so for 9,000 credits, they're going to attack each other. And it's going to be a 50-50 go of things. So I don't need to do the full battle for that. But what it does mean is that these guys serving as paid allies for the 9,000 credits, they're going to be tasked with dealing with these guys, and then we will have the ability to direct the Wheelian allies against this other major push, right? Or maybe we put both of these guys, the Wheelians and the Tillians, against the one, and then all we have to deal with is these guys. And in that way, we can just, assume, look, we paid the money, these guys help, they're going to beat up on this Tillian army, and then we just have to deal with these 5 companies, 2 artillery, and 2 tanks. And I think that's going to be the way to go with this one, because if we take a look at our army, remember, I had to get rid of those 2 battalions. I'm down to just 3 companies in my of regular infantry. Oh, I'm sorry. I got rid of 2 of these battalions with the medium armor. So I only have 6 companies of infantry and 2 companies of armor, 1 heavy and 1 medium. So if we take a look at this is a pretty fair fight. Me versus these guys, I've got 6 versus 5. They outnumber me. They've got 2 artillery. I've got 1 artillery and 1 electronic countermeasures. And then we both have 2 tanks. I've got 4 companies of tube artillery. I might need to get rid of one of those. I don't think I can afford that. That's a conversation for next year, though. So the 185 was for last year. 148 is for this year. And then, the Kaizans, these guys are gone. They're part of the rebels. So I think that's what we're looking at for the battles for this year. I'm not going to concern myself with these mercenaries, but ultimately I wound up having to spend 16.2 kilocredits, and that's going to take me down. That's going to take my reserve down dangerously low. Look at this. I'm going to be down to like 66.095 kilocredits. So if we have a couple more years like that, man, we are going to get bled completely dry. That's after this year, and that's not even including whatever replacements I have to buy after we take a look at this battle they're going to try to take several cities, right? And the Tillian Republic, they're coming up through the hills as usual. I guess they're going to be making another push for Damascus with just the 6 people. They really want Damascus. They've been coming at that city pretty hard, pretty hot and heavy. So we'll take a look at that next time. And I want to thank you guys for coming along. Getting to spend a little bit of time with you today has made my day just a little bit brighter. Till next time, I'm praying for you.